of silence for a red-tailed hawk, which me and Martin encountered just yesterday leading up to this show. I am Zan Mars. We have our bird and birding expert Martin Salinas standing by, who is here with us to live tweet this episode. Also, we have wildlife conservation and ecology expert Tim Leque in studio in order to chat with us a little bit more about birds out there. It is January 11th, 2016. Welcome to the new and improved Season 2 of Aviary Paragraph. Enjoy. So, back to the grind, as they say. We have Martin in here. He's actually been live tweeting our updating our show as far as our tweets go. They are live tweets, so you may hear him chirping away on those keys, but Tim can attest to the fact that Martin is a very adamant tweeter, and he will be tweeting throughout the show. So, first up, of course, we obviously had the moment of silence for this Redwing Blackbird. I got my head in the Redwing Blackbird here, but we do want to talk about birds here, and the red-tailed hawk is the bird we want to talk about, wouldn't you say? So, me and Rochelle Tews, a former guest on the show, had met up together post-show to talk a little bit more about Dermy, and so we could ankle and we could spot some of the game out there. And we have some RW Blackbirds in my neighborhood, which is why I almost said Red-winged Blackbirds, which I did say. So actually, we have another story about that later in the show. When I called you yesterday to respond to this incident, what were your initial thoughts about that, Martin?
The first thing for me was really just the thought of how soon can I get there. I mean, when you called me with this news, I knew I had to be there. I had to be a part of this. I had to try and help out, offer up what I could as a birder.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that exploded onto this scene. I myself wasn't that upset. Regardless, Martin, you did seem very excited or sad. I wasn't sure which. It was a mixture of excitement and sadness about this.
It really was. It was a total mix of emotions. On the one hand, it's this very unusual bird event, and of course, every birder loves those. But on the other hand, what makes this so unusual is the fact that this bird died in a pretty horrific way.
We are keeping these viewers here on the hook as far as this one goes. Martin, I would just caution you to give us a little bit of what exactly was going on. What was this exciting event that I did not have Tim come out to?
Well, Zan, let me just put it this way. I'm going to go straight inside of the mind of the red-tail that we're talking about right now. So if our viewers, if you're driving, don't do this. If you're at home, go ahead, close your eyes, and imagine.
My eyes are closed in studio, so for you viewers out there who can't see me, obviously I can never see you anyways, but my eyes are closed now.
Imagine a cold morning, a blue sky. You've awoken, your down feathers keeping you warm, all through the bitter cold of the night. You know you must hunt. Finding small rodents is your only way of survival.
How taste those rodents in my beak?
Even though these humans have occupied your habitat for some 300 years in this big, unbelievable sense, fragmenting the habitat, causing it to be poor quality, making your life all the harder than it already was, you manage to squeak a living by. You take off from the cold perch of the morn. You find 2 field mice behind a garbage can, a snack that will sustain you at least halfway through the day. Finally, you decide to rest in the midday sun, atop a pole, what looks to you like a snag, but to humans, merely a device for carrying their electricity from place to place. When you perch, your head gently touches a wire. Oh, that fatal wire. The wire that sends the surge of humanity through your bones. It is the end of you. You fall, but even then the humans could not let you go with dignity. You are left hung from the pole, talon digging into the wood. And here you lie, eyes white, charred, wings stiff against the sky to which you always used to fly.
Wow, that's sort of a insidious cautionary tale for all the red-winged blackbirds. The red-tailed hawks out there. Sorry, I got red-winged blackbirds in my mind. I gotta tell you, Martin, that's an unbelievable representation of the story. I'm very moved by that.
So it was just hanging there, huh?
It was hanging by its talon, Tim. Hanging by a single talon.
It's quite amazing. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that.
Yeah. Now, to decode what exactly just happened for you viewers out there, we did actually spot an unbelievable sighting of a red-tailed hawk stuck on the top of some sort of telephone pole, gawking there like some sort of, when you look at a bird like that and its eyeballs were jutting out of its head, it was alarming sight.
Now, I do have to actually clarify here, as per my conversation with Puget Sound Energy earlier today, our local power supplier, that this was indeed not a telephone pole, but a power pole.
Power pole.
Something that we'll have to really distinguish for the listeners in case they were confused.
Right. Understandable. So with that, speaking about all this sort of dead birds, I mean, I didn't want to say that. Call it taxidermy to be. How about that? Speaking of this taxidermy to be, I do have an image I'd like Martin to identify. This is a bird. Now, Martin, I'd like you to please identify what that bird is. Another taxidermy to be, or so to speak.
You know,
I almost said so to beak. But
now, this bird you've got up here, let's see. This one might not be in the best shape for taxidermy.
Okay.
Now, Zan, where did you find this bird?
Well, that's a funny thing. Is I guess around the AP studios, I found it around the same vicinity of the AP studios that I had found the red-winged blackbird. So we're finding dead birds around.
Red-tailed hawk.
Sorry, that's the red-tailed hawk. Excuse me again. But we're finding all these dead birds around, and it's it's exciting, but it's a little alarming.
It's pretty mangled up. You could definitely, the wings are very intact, so that's a plus. The skull, the tail, but as far as having a full taxidermy bird, it doesn't seem very likely.
Sure. So
now, quick side note to listeners, kind of going back to our previous story for just a minute, if I may, Zan.
Interesting.
We actually had a call into PSE, Puget Sound Energy.
Okay.
They've let us know that on their dispatch, they're leaving a note. Are indeed going to hold that red-tailed hawk. We will be migratory bird salvage permit and hopefully acquiring that hawk.
That would be beautiful. We here at AP always love to get a good specimen and
for educational purposes.
Educational purposes, it's a beautiful thing to educate the youth around us, and I got to tell you, I'm excited to do so, and I congratulate you, Martin Salinas, on behalf of the Aviary Paragraph team. Okay, so with that, we're gonna take a quick break. Tim, I got a quick question to ask you on this break. It's just a real quick trivia question. Will a duck's quack echo? True or false? A duck's quack will echo. Sorry. No, actually, true or false? A duck's quack will not echo.
I would say that's false. I feel like a duck's quack's probably like any other sound,
That's very true. Good job on that. You did a great job on that trivia question. All right, we're taking you out here on AP. See you soon. we're back, with what we like to bring back for the second season. Now, I just want to briefly talk, get you guys sort of things in here, speaking to us about what you exactly think is going to be so great about this next season, AP. Tim, do you have anything in store for us here in the next second season here?
You know, I try to bring something in store every episode I participate in, but
sure. Well, what's in stock? What's in stock in this store?
You know, a lot of things. I got some birding tales. Come April, I'm gonna be going back to my summer job, monitoring birds on Fort Lewis. So once that happens, I'm gonna be birds 100% of the time, which I'm sure there'll be some
great stories
great
from
stories.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I get to tell you, our studio audience has a real hunger for stories like that.
I'm always just fascinated by what Tim is bringing to AP.
Okay, so we're going to start this second season up here with a few new things, but also some old ones. And this old one we have here for you now is an oldie but a goodie, I tell you that much. It's called Spotter Sound. This game has 3 sounds. First sound's a bird sound. Second sound's a bird sound and another sound. Third sound's just a sound. Play these 3 sounds. Each play of a sound is going to be followed by a guessing round in which Martin and Tim are going to be able to guess what that sound is. So we're going to do sound number 1 here on Spotter Sound. That sound there. Any guesses for us here, Martin or Tim?
Tim, you want to have it this one first, or you want
Sure,
to?
You could hear the water in the background.
Definitely a water bird.
Definitely a water bird.
That's I did that because I thought we should really plunge into this second season.
A lot of clucks and shorts and interesting sounds going on there. Maybe a herring gull.
That's close. Close, but no cigar. Martin, you got any guesses after this?
A good birder friend of mine once said, "A gull's a gull's a gull's a gull. A seagull eats a french fry. A birder sees a gull. This is a ring-billed gull."
Wow, I got it. That's impressive. I mean, the herring gull, that was a pretty good choice, but you hit the nail on the head with that one. I gotta tell you, you hit the nail on the head. That was a ring-billed gull, so that gives you 1 point here on Spotter Sound. Now we're gonna do sound 2 here on Spotter Sound. This sound is a bird sound and another sound, and here is that sound.
Chief Justice, and may it please the court. The issue in these consolidated cases is whether participants and beneficiaries of ERISA plans may seek consequential and punitive damages in state court under state tort law for the allegedly wrongful denial of ERISA healthcare benefits to contract claims that essentially duplicate what's available under Section 502 of the federal statute, but not to tort claims, which give supplemental remedies for consequential and punitive damages.
Okay, guys, so do we have any guesses on this one? Either you, Martin or Tim, you have any guesses on what this could be? And realize we do have 2 sound categories here. There's the bird, and then there's the other sound.
Martin, I want to take this one first.
You know, coupled with a bird, at first my mind really went to the tropics, where the waxy coating on leaves has actually caused birds to evolve very high-pitched, short calls and songs. However, this bird, the repetitiveness of its call kind of steered me a little bit away from the tropics, but certainly I don't think it's a bird from home. So maybe Central America, North Central America.
Interesting.
I'm almost thinking, call me crazy, but I'm thinking that this is some kind of parakeet.
Wow. You know, to follow up a guess like that first one with that guess, that's pretty far off, Martin. Tim, do you have any sort of guesses on this one, or are you going to keep it sort of to yourself.
Not
so
not a bird I've heard.
Okay, sure. So, for that second sound, that was actually the masked lapwing. It's a masked lapwing with a partial recording of the oral argument in the Supreme Court case Aetna Health versus Davila. So, that was actually 0 points awarded to either of you on that one. I gotta admit, that was a toughie. But that is Martin still in the lead with the ring-billed gull. And now we have our very last sound here on Spotter Sound.
And Aishwarya ji, thank you very much for accepting to do a opposite heroine character opposite me. I'm not exaggerating. In Bangalore, my brother's house is there. I went there. Nearby, one Rajasthani tenants, they have come there. After knowing that I have come, I was there, he came to see me. Some Rajasthani, his name is Nandulal. He is some 60 plus. He came and he saw, "Kya Rajni, kya baal sab kya ho gaya yaar?" I said, "This is मैं झड़ गया यार, छोड़ो." हाँ क्या अभी क्या रिटायर्ड लाइफ, हाँ मजाक कर रहे हैं क्या? नहीं अभी एक पिक्चर काम कर रहा हूँ. अच्छा कौन सी पिक्चर? रोबो. अच्छा हाँ good. Then I told him Aishwarya Rai heroine. Aishwarya Rai heroine, अरे यार कमाल का लड़की यार, fantastic. Aishwarya Rai heroine, हाँ. Hero कौन? मैं हीरो. फिर तुम हीरो. सब बच्चे लोग साथ में आए थे. Daddy, yes, he is hero. Daddy, he is hero. Then 10 minutes he was there. He didn't speak single word. He was staring me only. Then okay, चला bye. बाहर से आवाज आता है, अरे क्या होगा यार ऐश्वर्या जी को? अभिषेक बच्चन को क्या हो गया यार? अभी छोड़ दो यार.
Okay, so that was sound number 3. Martin, do you have any guesses on what that sound could be?
Zan, at the risk of being Casey at the bat here, I'm going to go ahead and say this one is just too far out there. I've got my point. As much as I don't know what it is, I also think that Tim doesn't know what it is, so I'm going to go ahead and pass and sit pretty on my 1 point lead.
Sound number 3 was a tough sound.
Oh, that's not tough. That's Legend Rajnikant. He's a old favorite of mine.
Oh, wow. I never knew.
But
You're, what do you, listen to Indian stand-up a lot, or?
no, just this guy.
All right.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. He is pretty funny. When I was making that third sound, Spotter's sound, I was kind of amazed at how funny he was. Even though he speaks in English only partially in his stand-up, it's almost like you can get what he's saying.
You can get what he's saying.
Right.
Much, yeah.
So, well, that was Spotter's sound, and with that, I'm gonna have to pass the Spotter's sound scope over to Tim, because it's time for our new segment called Timothy's Bird Book Corner, a segment where Tim talks bird books.
Hello, birders out there. It's time to discuss the birding book of the week. And today I will be reviewing 1001 Secrets Every Birder Should Know by Sharon Stittler. And so Mrs. Stittler, she goes by Bird Chick, her website, birdchick.com. And this book, it has a lot of just really fun facts. It's pretty much just entirely fun facts, and I really can't stress enough how fun this book is.
I like fun, but not facts. Do you think I'm still going to be engaged in this book?
The fun factor of this particular book is so high that I mean, pretty much, if there was anything else about it that you didn't like, that, that would pretty much account for...
Would you rather read this book or go birding?
It's pretty close.
I ask our Tim Turn the tough questions. What was that?
I'd probably rather go birding.
Yeah, I think we all would.
I mean, that's true. I mean, when you say that's a tough question, I mean, come on.
In a way, it's an easy question.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Why would you look at a picture of bird?
Who wouldn't rather be birding?
Real thing. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and read a few. Reviews for this book. First, I'll do a couple official, published reviews, and then I'll do a couple Amazon.com reviews.
Okay, I like what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
So, Publishers Weekly. No, that one's too long. I'm gonna go for a shorter one. All right. Library Journal wrote this review. Stidler infuses her subject with an enthusiasm that is truly infectious. For readers new to birding, this is the book. Its ew factor might even pull up into some young adults. No doubt many of the experts Birdchick has entertained at events around the continent will also want to experience her wit in print and film.
Yeah. Well, who was that again?
That was the Library Journal.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, neither have I. And then, let's see here. The president of American Birding Association, Jeffrey A. Gordon. The world of birds and birders is fun, fascinating, and at times more than a little bit funky. Sharon Stidler makes an ideal tour guide through this strange and fascinating territory, sharing facts, opinions, stories, and yes, secrets, in an entertaining, personal, and personable way.
Well, it's important to be personable. I definitely look around at a lot of these people who are less than personable. Over here in the PNW, they call a little thing called the Seattle Freeze.
Yeah.
It gets a little chilly up there in terms of social interaction. I'm not sure if we're all aware of that, or if some of us are aware of that, but I gotta say, it is something to be aware of.
Yeah, something to consider before you decide to move up here.
My cousin moved up here just a little while ago, and I told him, no, you shouldn't move up here from Ohio. Don't leave the family roots. I'm settled up here. I don't really need another family member in my life. I got my immediate family over here. I don't want any of the other family. And then he did happen to come over here, and we honestly
How
didn't.
was that?
Well, we didn't get along very, very well.
All right, and to wrap this up, this 1001 Secrets Every Birder Should Know by Sharon Stidler, or Sharon Birdchick Stidler, I should say. I'm gonna just kind of go see what the streets have to say about this book.
Okay.
I'm gonna check the Amazon.com reviews, and it got fantastic reviews, fantastic user rating.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable, actually. It got a 4.8 out of 5 out of 20 reviews.
Whoa.
20
Wow.
people
That's,
actually wrote reviews for this book.
That's exceptional in that there are so many reviews and that they are so high as well.
Yeah. So Nancy Werrell said, bought it as a gift, but may have to buy one for myself. It's a fun book.
That says it. I mean, that honestly says it all. I don't even know if you have any
Yeah.
need to read another review, quite frankly.
There's one more review.
There is one more that you really will probably want to read, but that does say it all, wouldn't you say?
But I'd say it pretty much, the last sentence of that review sums it up.
Right.
It's a fun book.
What was your favorite part of this book?
Zan, I think my favorite part of this book was probably the first couple pages. There's some really great just single photograph pages of some photography Miss Birdchick has taken, and I think that was my favorite part.
Yeah. Well, you know, I feel like that's kind of in the spotter's blood. You know, all of us birders out there, kind of like you're flowing through your veins. Instead of just blood, you have the urge to see birds.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And you know, no duh, pretty much that you're gonna like those pages the best because I mean, you get to see those birds.
Why would you read about birds when you could be looking at an actual photograph of one?
Right.
All right, and so the last review by Lily E. Doesn't say what her last name is. She gave it 5 stars, and the review is titled, "I'm so glad I got this book. I loved it."
Wow.
If you are into birds, or know someone that is, buy this right now. It's a lot of fun. Going back to the fun again, pretty much every review said that, and very informative. I find myself going back to it over and over.
Right.
I got into birds just a couple of years ago, so there was a lot of stuff in this book that I didn't know. I'm going to pick up one for a friend for Christmas who also loves birds. This is a must-have for anyone who enjoys bird watching. I've looked at and own a lot of birding books, but this one is fun and easy. Check it out.
Now that's a good review, but here's what I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this book got pretty good reviews on Amazon, right?
Great reviews on Amazon.
Yeah. Now, with a name like Lily E, it kind of makes you think this is kind of a strange name. Like, do we know who any of these reviewers are? We got to look up these reviewers, see what else they reviewed, because it could be possible that this bird chick has gone on and take you. I mean, if you get basically 1 to 10 bird chick friends on there, pumping up those reviews, we could be reviewing a book that's honestly not a very good read and giving it a high score.
Yeah, well, I've read this book page to page, cover to cover, and I have to say it is to say it's fun. It really is an understatement.
Okay, so from 1 to 10 chirps, how many chirps are you gonna give it?
The whole 10 chirps.
10 chirps, okay.
Now, I hate to jump in here and interrupt you, gentlemen, but I have just gotten word we've got a rare bird alert.
Okay.
Right now, a report just came in that we've got a common redpoll here in Thurston County. Now, I didn't have time to put this in a live tweet. I know that our viewers are probably wondering, but in the comments here from that bird report, this common redpoll was seen by Kim again, still mixed in with the siskins.
Yeah.
Red on top of the head and all white barring on wing compared to yellow on the siskins. No photo at this time.
So he's night birding.
Kim
right now,
is night birding, and probably explains the lack of a photo.
Right.
I'm pulling up a map right now.
A lot of these night birders now, it's nice for them because they can actually buy some of that night vision equipment.
So any birders that want to go check this out, we're looking really at the end of Steamboat Island, just due south of Hope Island State Park. It is residential, it is private land, so all you birders, you know it. Birders ethics out there, no trespassing, no disturbing people in their homes. But apparently we've got a common redpoll out there right now.
Well, I don't go out there anyways, so I'm not going to be going out there. But that's very nice of you to mention to us, Martin. With that being said, I have another story I was hinting at earlier, and that is, of course, my Redwing Blackbird story. I've been, you guys might have noticed, I've been very antsy to tell this story earlier in the show.
Now, for our viewers, I was actually asking Zan ahead of the show. I just want to give kind of a little sneak preview of the story, and he wouldn't share it. I could tell he wanted to, but this is going to be just as much of a surprise for me as you.
I don't kiss and tell, and if I'm birding, I'm not kissing at all. So, pretty much, it's a little bit of a Red-winged Blackbird story, as everybody knows. So I made it no secret last season that I met a new friend at my local deli, and I've been actively cut loose with this guy. I've been birding with this young man that I've met 2 to 3 times a month, birding together. That's neither here nor there, though. what is here is that he's been a little down on his luck lately. He needs a helping hand, and he has been in sore need of some government assistance. Now, for anybody out there who's stroking their sort of political ego, looking down on this guy or anything, let me tell you that that's not what we do on this show. We talk about birds on this show. So where there's a bird in a story, and there is a bird in this story, but you gotta let me get to that. That's what we talk about. We aren't getting political on this show. We only talk birds, and not politics. Only birds, strictly. So, as I was saying, we were walking to DSHS with our heads held high. I gotta add, one foot after the other. Obviously, put your pant legs on one at a time. And we spotted a bird outside the office. And it was hard to say what it was because it was a distant bird by perhaps about a quarter kilometer, I'd say. And I was not equipped with my binos at the time, so I did not spot that. I did help him with his paperwork, me and my new buddy that I met. I guess we could call him a buddy. I would. But, so I helped him with his paperwork, and then we're walking out of this place, and we happen to see two very interesting pictures. First one is a sign, and well, they're both signs. One's made on a computer, one's just like a regular sign. Now, I've invited our aforementioned bird expert, Mark Salinas, onto the show for his opinion on this subject. So hopefully he's going to provide us a little bit of insight. And Tim, I encourage you also to provide us with some sort of insight as to what these symbols mean. I'm going to pull up these pictures for you now. And if you could just talk a little bit about, you see here, this was mentioning this Red-winged Blackbird, which I believe was possibly the bird that I see outside the DHHS office. What type of bird do you think this is?
So, it's a black, mainly black bird, and it has some red and yellow on its wings, and there's a caption above the picture that says Red-winged Blackbird.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I didn't see that, actually.
You know, always, anytime you're birding, I think this is actually a great birding lesson, Zan.
Sure.
You want to look at the birds, but you want to look at all the clues around the birds. Now, for us birders out in the habitat, that's looking at the trees, the landscape, all the surroundings. But I think still applies here. Look at the picture of the bird, but right above it, you got the word Red-winged Blackbird.
Oftentimes I've seen birds that get mismatched with the names.
So that's true. It could throw you off. Could be a miscue. Certainly not diagnostic.
So we are live. We have tweeted this picture, but I will say what it says. It says, "Warning: this bird will attack due to nesting in the shrubbery inside of the pond fence. Walk down sidewalk at your own risk. It's only in protecting his nest. Please be aware, Red-winged Blackbird." From your friends at DSHS staff. So it's sort of a message of vitriol, sort of a message of hate. I think against this bird potentially. I wouldn't say hate, maybe not hate, but now? Do you guys think this red-winged bird could be attacking other people out here? Or?
Absolutely. It's happened to me.
Are you kidding me?
No, hitting the links with my grandpa as a kid. I sliced the ball over to the pond, which has cattails around it.
Right.
And let me tell you, just from looking at that picture, I see some cattails that birds perched on, and that
they seem
is
to
a dead giveaway for the Red-winged Blackbird. That's their favorite habitat in this area is cattails. But he must have mistaked my ball for his egg or her egg.
Sure.
But yeah, I was getting pecked on the head.
Oh man!
By
I'm sorry.
Blackbird.
I'm sorry to hear that. Quite honestly, how old were you?
Couldn't have been more than 10 or 11.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty traumatic.
Tender young age.
Small child.
Now I'm going to bring in a kind of differing viewpoint on this one. Despite the fact that people may be having close encounters with these really territorial male red-winged blackbirds, which are sort of known in the bird kingdom for establishing pretty large territories and defending them from absolutely anything. They'll go after eagles, they'll go after bobcats, they'll go after people. In the case of their interactions with people, it's actually quite rare that a person is ever attacked in the sense that the bird makes contact with the person. What the bird typically does is display an aggressive behavior that's meant to deter its perceived aggressor away from its territory, never actually causing any harm to the person. So I guess my message to the DSHS office would be, maybe instead of being so afraid of this bird and just trying to get people to steer clear, let's learn a little bit about this bird. Let's look at this as a birding opportunity.
It's not a bad guy. It's just misunderstood. And oftentimes you see children's stories and children's tales. I would, if I had a time machine and I could go back in time to little 11-year-old Timothy, I would tell him, this bird is your friend. This bird is, it could be that you maybe misunderstood this bird's intentions.
I think that's absolutely could be.
Yeah, so with that sort of stunning story, we are going to have to take a break. And again, we will have to, with this break, Martin, which are the two most famous comic ducks?
Daffy Duck
And
Donald Duck.
you got it. That's good. All right, we'll be back. And we're back, and we do have a very interesting sort of breaking news story about this place Mahleur, and Martin's going to have a little bit more about it to talk to us. It's kind of got to do with all that sort of stuff what's going on with the cattle ranchers, and maybe birds are potentially involved in this one. So I haven't really I don't watch the news. I don't watch that sort of crap out there. So this is all Martin on this one. I like to keep my sort of outlook more positive than not much of a downer as Martin is, honestly. But Martin, if you want to please enlighten us, please do.
Yeah, Zan, so what I'm actually coming to talk to you about today is
This is breaking news, if I'm correct.
This is breaking news over the last week. Just a little bit after New Year's, we had some major activity that had really been swelling up in the Burns, Oregon community that really centered around two ranchers, the Hammonds, father and son, who had been tried and convicted of setting fires on public lands, tried and convicted of arson for fires in 2001 and 2006.
Now, Tim sets fires, but doesn't go to jail. Now, why did these guys get convicted setting these fires? Tim setting fires all over the state.
I'm so glad you asked, Zan, because in this case, the Hammonds were actually setting fires to cover up evidence of their poaching activities on Bureau of Land Management lands. So they had been poaching deer and elk, set these fires, and when they went to court, kind of as a way to stick it to people like Tim. I mean, really, I think, Tim, this was sort of an assault on your profession and career path. They said that their fires, they were actually setting fires to remove invasive species from the BLM property.
Now, I'm not trying to stick it to Tim, but I will say that deers, and I don't see anything wrong with poaching some deers, because deers are, quite frankly, I went up to Fort Townsend a little while back, and they got so many deers, they got too many deers, and I think deers are, I think they're LC, their conservation status is LC.
You know, Zane, I'll address that briefly, but I'd like to sort of also move along so we can get to the heart of the issue. And in this case, there is certainly an issue around habitat fragmentation and increasing populations of deer, making diseases very prevalent. However, it's not so much the species as much as it is the poaching and the culture around poaching. The culture around people thinking that they can go out and choose to hunt outside of the regulatory process. The Hammonds, having been convicted of this, really came into a situation where you had outside people coming into the community at Burns, Oregon to protest their imprisonment. They had been put into jail for about a year, one of them, and another 366 days.
This also happened with the election of the first transsexual mayor in Oregon's history. We had a lot of outside people coming in.
Oregon is a lively place. That's one thing we can all agree on.
Okay.
So, people are coming to protest the sentencing of the Hammonds. They were sentenced, released, and then actually resentenced because the original judge did not uphold the mandatory minimum 5-year sentence for arson on federal lands. That law was established as an anti-terrorism law by the Clinton administration around the first bombing of the World Trade Center. So we're kind of seeing this really has a geopolitical context, the backstory to how this Mahleur occupation really began. Now, as much as I'm talking about the Hammonds, what's going on there right now doesn't per se have anything to do with them. When Ammon Bundy, the son of really infamous Cliven Bundy, the rancher from Nevada who had a standoff with BLM agents last year, heard of this, he is putting forth the idea that God told him to come to Burns, Oregon, and to do something about it. Having arrived and garnering support, finds out that the Hammonds actually don't want any of his assistance, nor the assistance of the outsiders that he has brought with him. There's a peaceful march in Burns in support of the plight of the Hammonds. The march then splinters. You have an armed group of militiamen, maybe terrorists, maybe militants, or patriots, depending on who you ask, who then, sort of in an effort not knowing what to do, decide to go to Mahleur National Wildlife Refuge and occupy it, take it over, head into those old buildings. This is a very old refuge, established in 1908, one of the first refuges, taking over these offices that were built by the CCC, the Citizens Conservation Corps, for those who aren't familiar. And they've been there ever since. Their demands are unclear. The organization that they claim to have is certainly suspect at best. Law enforcement refuses to set up a barricade, continuing to allow people in and out, even allowing pizzas to be delivered. Frankly, there's a lot of concern within the birding communities, Ann.
It kind of sounds like they got a maid in the shade with pizza delivery.
It really does. These guys, in a lot of ways, may have been emboldened by the fact that when the FBI and BLM had the original standoff with Cliven Bundy in Nevada, they basically let Cliven Bundy win that one. He wasn't prosecuted, he wasn't charged, he wasn't fined. In fact, the cattle that they had confiscated, they actually released back to him with no conditions. So a lot of people are thinking that law enforcement and BLM have really emboldened his son to come out and do this. And, you know, we're just kind of hoping that at this point he's messed with the wrong federal agency. I mean, these are the bird people.
Yeah, if it turns out that any of their activities at the refuge while they're occupying it disturbs the migratory birds that depend on that refuge, there's going to be hell to pay.
You know, and Tim, on that note, Ammon Bundy has actually called for people to come to Mahleur, specifically the people he said, I want the miners to come and mine, the loggers to come and log, and the hunters to come and hunt. So I think what we're looking at here is not only a possible disturbance, but actually a call by Ammon Bundy for people to come and disturb the wildlife.
That's an interesting idea because Tim was talking about this disturbance here. Within your position, you are disturbing wildlife, creating natural disturbances of wildfires for wildlife and the ecological system in Washington. Now, with these guys going over there and creating these disturbances for wildlife, are they not assisting the wildlife? And then that goes down to the root of the question, which is, what is nature?
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with the comparison of what I do to what they're proposing to do. Our disturbance activities that we create through prescribed fire, we do at times of the season where it will affect the least amount of wildlife. So we do it after the breeding seasons for the wildlife that occupy that habitat. And so, there are some casualties. Gardener snakes are often found. Crisps, but another species of least concern.
Sure.
Occasionally we'll find a vole, Townsend's vole, but like the gardener snake, they're one of the most plentiful animals,
Voles,
out in nature in this area. And so there really isn't a lot affected, and the wildlife it does do a good job of killing are invasive insects like praying mantises, which prescribed fire does a really great job of bringing those up.
Definitely. Now, it does seem like you have a sort of a handle on this whole ecological thing. Would you have any sort of, if you could give advice to BLM, what would you say?
My advice to BLM would be to prosecute these individuals and intervene before any unnatural human disturbance occurs on the wildlife refuge, because that kind of human disturbance, it's a sanctuary for a lot of migrating birds, and if they migrate and land there and are met with gunfire, they may not use that area again.
Sure. So thanks for shedding a light on that. Definitely. I think that really shed a light on the whole situation for me. And I think from what I've learned is that not all disturbances are the same.
I agree with that.
Even within natural versus unnatural. Even if you don't take that into account within the natural spectrum and the unnatural spectrum. Not all disturbances are the same. I do have one more question for you, though. What do you think nature is?
And I'd really like to, for our listeners, bringing into that conversation, just go ahead and quote the scholar William Cronin in his essay, The Problem with Wilderness, where he really dives into that idea of what is nature in a new lens of saying that we really shouldn't be trying to answer the question, what is nature, as much as we should be understanding that the question comes from a place of acknowledging that nature is completely a constructed piece of our culture.
That's got to be controversial, what this guy's saying.
I mean, it is certainly informed the current generation of land managers.
Okay. That's great.
Intervention with these occupants of Mahleur Wildlife Refuge, they need to be taken to justice. Otherwise, it'll set a precedent on wildlife refuges and federal preserves across the West that, you can hunt and disturb as much wildlife as you please, and that there'll be no repercussions for you. And we have ways to hunt and mine and log legally, and that's the right way to go about it.
Sure.
There's plenty of lands set aside just for that purpose.
Definitely.
Whereas this is the only land, very small percentage of land in our country that is devoted just for wildlife.
Right. I would like to say that definitely if you find yourself comparative populations, it is very fascinating to look at this case in comparison with a lot of the other demographic sort of stands against the government and occupation. And within that, you'd find that many of those other stands that are outliers are common for takedown.
Zan, just to close us out here on this one, Ammon Bundy has said that he would really like people to call him Captain Maroney, and I'm happy to do that, but I'm going to drop the I.
we're back. Hey, so this is our season 2. You know what I mean, guys?
Yeah, that feels good.
I know it does feels
New
really
year,
good.
new
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, right. So let's get started here with our one of our final segments on bird trivia. So I'm gonna ask about 5 questions here. Whoever has the answer quickest, you got to say the goose is in the gander. You guys both have 1 point right now. Whoever, this is for all the marbles, as they say. So I'm gonna begin with question number 1. Are you ready, Tim?
I'm ready.
Are you ready, Martin?
I'm ready, Zan.
Okay, I'm prepared as well. Which bird lays the smallest egg of all birds?
The goose is in the gander.
Martin.
The bee hummingbird.
That's correct. So that gives Martin 1 additional point to 2 points to Tim's 1 point. For our second question, what is North America's heaviest bird?
Gooses in the gander.
Tim.
The California condor.
Ooh, that's not what I have here.
The goose is in the gander.
What is
The
that?
trumpeter swan.
That is the correct answer. Again, Martin Salinas coming down with 3 there. Okay. Here's the next one here. What is the fattest bird in the world?
Goose is in the gander.
Martin.
The chicken.
No, I'm afraid that is incorrect.
The gooses in the gander.
Timothy.
The ostrich.
I'm afraid that is also incorrect. The correct answer was the peregrine falcon. So, yeah, that's just, I'm afraid it's the peregrine falcon is the fattest bird.
You know, Zan, I don't mean to argue with the quizmaster here, but maybe check your search history on that one, because I think you may have accidentally typed in fastest bird, not fattest bird.
I don't know about that. Let's see here. You know, I wouldn't argue with that argument. There is actually, well, that is could be that is true. But arguing with the quizmaster is a deduction of a point actually from your score, so you will be back to 2 points. Now we do have more quizmaster questions for you here. How many minutes does it take to hard boil an ostrich's egg?
I'm gonna go. The gooses in the gander.
Timothy.
180 minutes.
Ooh, no.
I'm gonna go gooses in the gander.
Martin.
I am actually gonna say at a rolling boil that it takes only about 15 minutes.
Ooh. I'm sorry, guys, but that was right in the middle there, 40 minutes, so that's a 0 added on to either of your scores. This is going to be for all the marbles, this next one, Tim. It's a 2-point question to end us here on birding trivia. Okay, are you ready for this?
Ready.
This is for all the marbles, guys.
All the marbles.
Okay. Or all the eggs, I suppose. What is the best thing about a blue tit's nest?
Gooses in the gander.
Martin?
The best thing about a blue tit's nest is the way that it's cooperatively built and woven together over the course of several months at times, creating an elaborate structure that is certainly pleasing to the eye, but also accommodating of the bird's eggs and chicks.
That's a very good, well thought out answer, but it's not what I'm looking for on this one, I'm afraid. Timothy, do you have any other ideas here?
The eggs.
Well, I'm sorry, guys, but it does look like Martin is going to have to win this one. The best thing about the blue tit's nest is the antibacterial qualities of the plants that it uses to create the nest. It gathers many of these curry plants and herbs to create this nest that provides antibacterial qualities for its eggs and its young. Yeah. So, congratulations on that win, Martin. What is that for you now? I think that's that might be a clean 6 almost.
I think it is.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I think one time you did either you lost or you tied or something. I don't remember.
Can't seem to remember that, Sam.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, good score regardless. And so with that, we're going to take one more quick break, and we'll be back with our final segment on with the famous haiku as read by Jeff Hooks, a couple of short stories by Martin and Tim, and our Birders Joke of the Week. And we're out. welcome back. We actually had to, we literally had to get Jeff Hooks back in the studio. Tim, now I asked if Tim could get in contact with Jeff, just talk to him, bring him in the studio. What was it like talking with Jeff?
It was a real pleasure, Dan. Just such a poetic guy, you know. He lives his life like he does his profession.
Yeah, no, I can sort of see what you mean.
Everything he says is almost kind of like a little haiku, you know.
Yeah, that's really extraordinary. To do that whole 474 thing all the time is kind of unbelievable. We do have this recording of Jeff right now, as read by Jeff Hooks. You've heard it here, the famous Jeff Hooks reading his haiku on Aviary Paragraph.
Hey, thanks, man.
I gotta say, those guys, they kind of hit you like a wrecking ball. I mean, I know that, you know, like
Where did you find that recording?
So he has a library of tapes that he sent to us, and he's been recording himself for the past at least 7 to 8 years. He has these recordings of various haikus he's made in field. He's been doing what is now actually a new sport. He's one of the frontiersmen of, I'd say, of this new sport called haiku birding. As opposed to spotting a bird and snapping a photo of it, this is a birding form where you actually go find a bird, and then you write a haiku about the bird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'll have to try to get my hands on some of those tapes.
Yeah, I mean, I think next time maybe we should all we should do bird together. Maybe I can even bring Justin, that guy I met at the deli.
It's been too long since we've all birded together.
Yeah, and when we do that, we can maybe go haiku birding instead of normal traditional birding. So, with that, we have our short stories by Martin and Tim.
In the last few weeks, I've been working on a lot of open woodlands and woodland edge habitat. One particular site I was working at was at Wolf Haven Sanctuary in Tenino, Washington. They've taken wolves that have been abused by humans and give them a comfortable place to live for the rest of their life, as they cannot be released back into the wild in the state they are. Yeah. So there's a little corner of Wolf Haven that I was planting some Quercus garryana, those are Gary oaks, right around where me and my boss Saunders had also built some bat boxes for migratory bat colonies near the edge of the sanctuary that borders a wetland. And so where I planted, we were planting and remulching these oaks year 2 of since we planted them, and all around this area where we're working were small flocks of varied thrush.
Whoa.
There had to be, 30 or so varied thrush all within this 100 square meter section of the sanctuary.
Yes.
And I just thought it was such a special treat to see, or usually you only hear them on hikes during the summer when you're in the mountains, but during the winter they come to lowland forests and open woodlands and forage together in small flocks. Yeah. And it's just a real treat to see.
Well, it's got to be a treat because you said it was a treat, so
sweeter than candy.
Yeah. Right. I got you on that. Okay. That's interesting. I don't usually eat candy. I think it's just from the health of my teeth. Martin, you want to take us out with a bird story?
Yeah, Zan, this one actually comes from my bird of the year. First in 2016. I know you guys are familiar, but for our viewers who aren't familiar, this tradition in birding is called Bird of the Year. And every year, each birder tries to note the first bird that they see, and that is their bird for the year. Now, every year I've had my bird of the year typically be something either interesting or not so interesting, but this year was a little different. I got up early in the morning on
Wasn't a
January
Hari
1st.
Poo, was it?
It wasn't a Hari Poo.
Okay.
Got up in the morning on January 1st, went outside, and immediately saw two odd-shaped birds flying relatively high in the sky.
And what were these birds shaped like?
You know, they were shaped somewhere between a nighthawk and a pigeon.
Okay.
And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what they are.
Okay.
So this year, my bird of the year is to accept the mystery of birds.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. That kind of goes with my same idea of the haiku birding experience. These sort of new age birding ideas and ideals that we all want to enforce within birding. Nobody should go out there with all their camera equipment and should be snapping so many photos, breaking their back with those cameras. Like, just get out there with a little piece of paper or notepad of some sort. And you know you can bird with just those objects as well. And since this has been such a deadly serious episode, I'm going to have to take us out with the birder joke of the week. This one was submitted by Ken Herman. His email is ken.herman@man.ac.uk. It was submitted to fatbirder.com. It's titled Budgies. And here we go. I'm going to be reading Budgies by Ken Herman. This is a birder joke of the week. A man went into a pet shop and asked for a blue budgie. The owner said, "I'm sorry, but we only have green ones." "I want a blue one," the customer keeps on insisting. So, to get him out of the shop, the owner packs up a green budgie and tells him it's blue. On unpacking the bird at home, the customer discovers that his blue budgie is green and goes back to the shop for an exchange. At the shop, the owner tells him once again that he only has green budgies. "Never mind," says the man, "I'll paint it." "You can't do that. It will kill it," says the owner. Next day, the customer comes back complaining that his budgie is dead. "I told you the paint would kill it," says the owner, to which he gets the reply, "It wasn't the paint that killed it, but the blow lamp." So I'm just going to let that sink in with you guys. I gotta say, Ken Herman, he's a very funny but interesting guy. You know, when I was reading this, that's the one thing I was kind of over my head a little bit. I was thinking to myself, well, this is funny, but it's pretty interesting too. That's the thing about it, is it's a little bit interesting. You know. Regardless, that's our show for today. I want to say I had a lot of fun doing it. So this is Zen Mars. I'm signing off over here.
And this is Martin Salinas. Get out there and go bird.
This is Tim Leque, and it's been a pleasure.